Hey, Shay.
Hey, Dean.
Okay, so I've got some questions for you, but let's start with the very first, maybe most important question. What the hell is a fractional CMO?
So, put it simply, I think fractional
Please,
CMO, sorry.
yeah, please keep everything simple, like very simple for me. Thank you.
Yeah, so put it simply, I think fractional CMO is just chief marketing officer who is hired part-time,
Mhm.
working on a strategic initiative with a CEO or with the leadership or with the board. But the difference is that he or she kind of split their time in between different businesses in part-time position, 20, 40, 60, sometimes 80% position,
Mhm.
and usually for a shorter term, but not necessarily.
All right, fair enough. So let's set up a hypothetical. Okay, uh, you just started a brand new engagement. It's a brand new client. Today is day one. What does the first 90 days look like from your perspective? And also, probably let people know a little bit about who you are. So, first 90 days and more about you.
Okay, so I'll start maybe with me a little
Yeah.
bit, so people will know just a little bit. So I'm Shay Assaraf, and I'm a fractional CMO. I began my career a few years ago in a product marketing role, and then I work my way up in enterprise organization,
Mhm.
big B2B sales organization, and became a CMO in a few companies. I've done telecom, I've done insurance, I've done utilities. People might consider it as a very boring and old regulated, very stable organization, but I find it very interesting because they're going through so many disruption and challenging time, which gives you a lot of interest things to do as in a marketing role. In the last year, I have established my own business and I'm working as a fractional CMO, helping different companies, scale ups, and startup to grow globally. And that's me.
What does the
And
first 90 days look like? How do you like ramp? Here, I'll tell you this. Uh, I think I probably know. I know hundreds and hundreds of fractional CMOs, partly through the podcast, and
yeah,
a lot of CMOs as well, just sort of CMOs in traditional roles, right? And the traditional CMOs will tell you that the biggest difference between them and fractional CMOs is that fractional CMOs do not get like 9 months to ramp up, right? They're expected to like start like reorganizing and contributing very quickly. Is that your experience?
no,
No?
actually, also as a CMO, I didn't get more than, I don't know, a month grace before I needed really to start doing
Right.
things. But I go to my CEO, and if that will be my first day in a job,
Right.
I will even go and say, let's look on my first 30 days, not 90 days. And my first 30 days is really about learning the organization. I'm coming like an empty paper, like a blank paper, just coming, asking questions, challenging some things, meeting different people in the organization, mapping the organization and the leaders on the paper, but also not on the paper. You know, sometimes there's this senior someone or like this testing guy who knows everything
Hmm.
what happening in the organization. And he met tons of customers. He's just like not very senior, but he knows things. And you really need to understand what's the organization, where does this organization stand, and while many would say there's like best practices and processes and
Sure.
ebook and stuff you need to establish and do, and it's like a very clear way, for me, it doesn't seem like one size fits all. It's really about understanding what the real needs of the organization, maybe not what the CEO thought it's the real need. So it might not be, I need a better brand, or I need more leads, or I need a better collateral. Really, what's the problem? Why have you not done it before?
Right.
So for me, it's really understanding that that's my 30 days. And then identifying few big programs I want to roll and start rolling them again in this 30 to 90 days.
So imagine that you're not the fractional CMO in this scenario, okay? You're the CEO who's brought in a fractional CMO. How are you going to get like maximum value out of that fractional CMO that you just brought in? You probably had to convince someone, in the leadership team or the board or just yourself, to put aside and allocate that spend for, let's
Yeah.
say, like a 1 year fractional CMO, right? How are you going to make sure you get your money's worth? What do you do and what do you not and stop doing in
Yeah,
order
so
to
I
make
think
sure?
stop doing is more difficult for CEOs. So CEOs are usually, very confident to lead an organization, even if it's like just a 50 people organization. You lead
Yeah,
an organization, you're making sure people gets paid in the end of the month. You're kind of committed to their career as well, and you bring in someone. And the two things I've seen which kind of hinder any progress or process going forward is, one type of CEOs, the one who actually knows everything and they know what a marketing needs to
yeah,
do, and they know every copy. They're copywriters and they're designers and they're event manager and they're messaging and they know everything. And while I really like a CEO or a boss who's very opinionated and kind of be my sounding board and challenging me, if a CEO likes to go and read every copy of every LinkedIn post, I'm not sure if he really needs a CMO. And if he really needs to go on every presentation and changing every visual, I don't like
right,
this color, or I don't like this level of circle, or like this size of circle. Maybe you don't need a CMO. I think another big thing about CEO, they're very CEO, especially when they're founders, they're very
right,
attached to the company, to the brand, which is an amazing thing.
sure,
But also they kind of get too attached to it. So there's truth in an organization. You know them. We have great brand. Everyone love doing business with us. Or we have a great campaign. Or doing that event is the most important thing of the year, or having a summit for our customers or prospect. That's the most important things, and nobody really measure it, check it, question it, challenge it. And if
right,
a signal just comes, too much in a box, so we have great brand, we just don't get any leads and opportunities. Hmm, maybe it's about the brand. Maybe it's the positioning of the brand. So maybe we need to kind of ask the challenging question. So really to get a value, if you brought someone and you've done so many processes, you interviewed and you recruit and you pay and you got a lot of buying in the organization, make sure that you give him or her some space to work. It's okay to ask tough questions, it's okay to ask for results quickly, but just let them work a little bit.
well, let's say I'm the CEO, okay, and I'm looking at the maybe just junior and mid-level staffers, but I've got some people working in marketing. They do various tasks, right, in marketing,
I
and
get
I'm finally bringing in someone at a leadership level. Maybe there's been management or even supervision, but there's no like leadership level in marketing until like you, for instance, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this team on day one. I'm thinking about this team a year from now. There's going to be a fractional CMO for the first time in the next over the next 12 months. So how should I expect that team to be different or ideally better at the end of 12 months compared to where they are today? Now that there's a fractional CMO in the mix.
So I think if I'm looking on myself,
Yeah.
and I think I can bring three things to an existing working organization of marketing. And I've came to different opportunities where there was like 10 people in the marketing team even. And they were doing a lot of things, constantly content and blogs and press releases and event and campaigns and LinkedIn and social. Everything was like ticking. But
Right.
then you bring, I think, three things. One of them I would say fresh perspective. So, everyone is running in the trenches and they have their own way of doing things month after month, week after week. And you come in with a fresh perspective, asking question, how
Right.
can we improve that? Should we do that? Sometimes we're running on things which doesn't bring a lot of value in the end. So maybe we just need to change them or stop them. And it's also a very tough call to say, I'm not doing that. I think another theme, sorry, is kind of a broader expertise or experience, especially coming from different industry, different companies, different size of companies. You come and you bring different tooling. So every company I
Right.
worked with, there was some guy who came and say, or some girl who came and say, hey, let's use that tool. And I learned something new. And then I'm coming to the next company and I'm bringing more ideas and more tools and more stuff and more practices. And I'm learning on the way, and I bring to a team who's doing something a broader expertise. And I think the third thing, which is probably the most important thing, is the executive alignment. Being part of a management team, sitting
Right.
in the table of the CEO every week in the leadership meeting, gives marketing a voice in the table, give, gives back from the CEO to the marketing team alignment on his vision and where the company stands and where we're going. And that's where you really understand how to strategize your marketing activities and programs, because you have this connection, direct connection, every week, twice a week, to the CEO, to the leadership, maybe sometimes to the board. You give back where the organization, where we're going, what we're trying to do, and then you strategize your work in the end. And I think it's a very important thing to understand how to give marketing a seat in the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go as far down as we can go. Okay, so let me do it this way. So your best friend comes to you and says, Shai, so I know you have something to do with marketing. You're kind of high up in marketing. You've told me 4 times what it is you do. I still don't really understand it. But my kid just graduated from university and is just got hired in their first full-time job. They're the most junior person at a marketing team at a company. That company just hired a fractional CMO, which I'm 90% sure you said you were at some point. I don't really listen to you because I don't understand what you talk about anymore. But just in case you're also a fractional CMO, do you have any advice for my kid who's going to have this fractional CMO in their organization for the next year and they're just starting out their career in marketing? Like,
I
what
think
should they
first,
do or what should they not do to get on this person's bad side?
I think first advice to myself: pick my friends better, those who will
Yeah,
listen
right.
to you, and not just like I'm
Maybe
blubbering
you
and
share hobbies and it doesn't matter what
I
you do
don't
for
remember what
careers.
you said or what you're doing or whatever. I don't really care about you. No, but being serious, again, I think, young people, and I see that across different organizations, they're smart, they're dynamic, they're
Yeah,
techie savvy. They know technology more than us. They understand social more than us. They even know how to build a story sometimes better than us. They have like a very vast context of culture and music and movies, maybe, or films that are much bigger than ours, or maybe
sure.
much
Yeah,
more relevant. And I would say to this friend, good friend of mine, tell his son or daughter just to listen, learn, jump on anything. Don't push back on tasks that you're getting. Just try things. I remember 20 years ago when I started my role, it was one day I was product marketing, and the next day the CEO told me, "Hey, you're the one who knows the customer best. Maybe you'll do project management for them." And I said, "I don't know how to manage projects, and how do you build a Gantt?" But I've done it for a month, and then I grew. I learned something from that. So don't push up on things. Don't get stuck in. That's my role. That's my responsibility. I'm not trying to learn or grow. Just listen to people, learn, open your ears, try new stuff. Maybe you like it. Maybe you'll grow. Maybe you'll learn something new. I'm sure you'll learn something new.
sure.
And it will really enrich you and your career, I guess.
Okay, so I've got, I think, 2 more questions for you. Really, just one more question.
Okay.
There are easier ways to make a living, Shai, than what you do. There are easier jobs, right?
Okay.
It can be a very frustrating role, challenging but frustrating. Why
Yes.
do this job?
So I'm not sure. So it's a good question. And I had a CEO one time told me
Yeah,
CMO role is the worst role in the leadership team. Everyone knows marketing. Everyone knows how to tell the story. Everyone knows, they think they know what you need to do. And it's very fluid subject. Should I do things for the employees as part of my employer branding? Should I do some, I don't know, Christmas party? That's marketing, right? No.
yeah,
And people kind of get lost in what's really marketing. And like raising kids, everyone knows how to do it, and you don't need to get trained on it.
right.
No. Um, so it's a tough role, and being a fractional is even tougher. It is kind of limited maybe in time, in percentage of capacity, and you really need to learn fast, bring value fast, and give an input and an insight to the organization. That's challenging. Why I'm doing it? I think it's also super fulfilling when you have like this great crack of something, when
Right. Yeah.
you really nailed it. You really understand what we need to do, where we should go, how to positively impact our go to market, our strategy, our positioning, and you manage to tell an engaging story for our customers and prospects and analysts and journalists. And then you really make this brand grow and you generate relevant pipeline and opportunities. So yeah, I might, selling something, developing something, doing the finance part, all these probably very interesting things I never did or will do. But for me, marketing and about telling the story and impacting where the company goes, super interesting.
All right. I have one more question. I thought I was last one, but I have one more. Okay. So,
Sure.
you're about it. You said you're a year, a little more than a year into it, right? And being fractional CMO. So, is there anything that you would advice you'd give to someone who is starting their fractional business today, or what would you advise yourself 1 year ago? Now that you've got a year's experience of
So I
finding
wonder if I can
clients and that kind of stuff under your belt.
I wonder if I can just broaden that
Oh
question
yeah,
and think about an advice I would give. And that's quite amazing that um, what's that we had like a whole podcast without talking about Gen AI.
yeah,
Um, and Gen AI and generative AI, is like putting the world upside down and kind of
mhm,
changing every profession. Whether it's like tester or engineers or
right,
developers, and it's also completely changing the role of marketing and CMOs and fractional CMOs. And it doesn't kind of eliminate the need in a CMO, but you come to any new engagement, you should come to a new engagement with a whole new set of tools, or I call them my team. So I have a person in my team, Claude. He's writing my blogs, and I have someone called Perplexity, and he's doing my research.
yep,
And I have someone called ChatGPT, and he's doing some copywriting and LinkedIn posts for me. And the junior employees, I must say, and I need to work with them. It's not just like say something and you get the best result.
right,
You need to work with this team of yours. But if you really unlock that potential, you can do wonders faster, in much more capacity, in bigger volumes. And that's kind of my advice. So make sure that as a fractional CMO, you're not coming just by yourself. You come in with these great tools and team of employees coming with you to kind of bring value and benefits faster and even in a bigger um, multiplier than what you can do by your own.
oh, that's good. All right, well, that's it for this episode today. Thank you so much for being here, Chai. So, who should reach out to you these days, and how should they connect with you?
So I think my unique proposition is
Yeah,
my understanding of the enterprise B2B sales in regulated and traditional
right.
industries. So telecom, insurance, banking, utility.
Compliance heavy kind of stuff.
Yeah, the heavy sales enterprise, which are not only traditional vendors playing these days, and there's these challengers who want to shake the market and who want to tell a compelling story, and a techie CEO who doesn't understand how to really crystallize the value and really appeal to his audience and personas. Ping me in LinkedIn, and
Right.
I'll happy to have a chat with you.
All right, sounds good. And so LinkedIn definitely the way to go, the one that's on screen, right?
Yeah, that's my LinkedIn.
Cool.
Yeah, it's the best way to approach me.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for being here, Chai.
Thanks, Dean, for inviting me. It was a great talk, and See you later.
It's